Alan McNish, a great surprise to hear of your retirement from sports car racing. Can you tell us what's behind this sudden announcement?
Well, it's no great mystery. Just got another job.
Another job? Can you tell us where in motorsport this job is? Is a return to F1 on the cards?
No, not exactly. It's actually not a job in motorsport at all.
It's not a job in motorsports. What else would a dashing Scotsman do for a living?
I'm afraid I really can't say at the moment. Sorry, it's time to go. Hello. To my right, Richard Porter.
Hello.
To my left, the croaky voice with a cold of Zog.
Hello.
And I'm Gareth. This is the Gareth Jones on Speed Seasonal Special. We refuse to call it a Christmas show, don't we? Even though it is.
It's a festival show.
We say this every year.
Shortly we will
festival
have
for the
the
rest of us.
unadorned aluminium pole and then the airing of the grievances. Airing of grievances.
Airing grievances, yes.
This is, of course, the On Speed Works do, as well as being a recording of the programme. I'm hoping to snog the company secretary later on. Violet, have you finished writing those accounts, darling? Yeah?
What?
It's the works
You're going to get
do.
lucky tonight,
I'm
Lord.
snogging the secretary.
I think you're in there.
Yeah.
I just need the keys to the photocopier room where I will
Yeah.
make several copies of my
Keep
own
those
copy.
trousers up.
So as we approach the homunculus that is Christmas with its jingling bells, let's just consider for a moment what's been going on in F1 recently. And of all the snippets of news to emerge, the perhaps most bonkers one is the double points for the final round of the 2014 season. Okay, you have 4 words to respond to this. Zog, 4 words.
I used up my first word with that deep sigh that,
Okay.
that I let go as you were describing it. So I've got 3 left.
Okay.
Oh,
Unusually sweary response from Zog,
yeah,
really? Yeah.
Straight into the point. No,
Yeah.
it's stupid. It is stupid. I can't see the benefit. I can only see a downside. Yeah, that's it. I don't see that it would have improved any year of racing that we've had, particularly given the way the points run at the moment. It means that somebody who is 49 points behind going into the last race, and if you're 49 points behind, you really haven't done as good a job that season as the guy you're 49 points behind, and giving double points for that last race means that somebody who frankly doesn't deserve the championship is going to find it much easier to snatch it at the last minute because the guy that should have won it had a retirement because somebody ran into them, because they had a mechanical problem. I think it's stupid. Over to you.
So I've got 4 words.
Yeah.
Sorry, that wasn't 4.
My 4 words would be don't see what the fuss is about.
I see you've created compound words.
I have, I'm afraid, yeah.
That's okay.
I'm being all German about it. You make some very good points, actually, Zog, and fair enough. But actually, you're right. It would have affected the outcome of previous seasons because I've seen someone doing the maths on this.
Yep.
And, for example, the year that Massa and Hamilton were fighting for it, I think Massa
Massa
would
would
have
have
taken
won
it.
it,
Yeah.
yeah.
David
and-
Coulthard would have been world champion in 1941, but I'm not sure I trust the person who did that calculation.
Someone worked out if Sir Sterling Moss, the
he'd have won it.
best world champion who was never a world champion, would have been a world champion. Maybe he would.
He would,
Then we
yeah.
wouldn't have been able to endlessly say the best world champion who was never a world champion, which I think he secretly enjoys. So, yes, it's contrived and it's a bit weak and it's not going to solve anything really, but I don't see that it's worth getting bent out of shape for. It doesn't bother me. It could make things a bit interesting. You're right. Yes, maybe if someone is 50 points ahead, well, they've done a better job. But at the same time, they could have just had better luck. And if their luck's that good, it'll see them through that final race as well. If their luck is not with them, someone else will take it. Yabu sucks. Better luck next time.
I have a bit of a problem with it because it just reminds me of Je Sans Frontières in the 1970s when at some event during the competition that you took part in this intertown wearing a silly bear costume whilst carrying water, you could play the Joker.
Yeah.
You display your Joker card and instantly get double points for that particular game. And this smacks of the same sort of thinking to me, a bit sort of it's bolted on for extra entertainment. You know?
But hang on a minute, a joker system in Formula One
That's what I
for
was getting
one
to.
race.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but
yes.
you have to nominate at the start of the weekend. This is the
Okay,
weekend
yeah.
where we score double points.
Yes.
Now, that would be good.
Absolutely. You arrive on the Wednesday or whatever.
Yeah.
Before you've even sent the car out on the track, you have to say you're playing your joker.
Yeah.
That adds a bit of interest.
Yeah.
I would prefer that idea to double points for the last race of the season, seriously.
Yeah.
I don't like it all that much, but I like it more than
Yeah.
double points for the rest of the season.
Let's really develop this game show theme,
If
though.
we
What
can
about
have-
stealing points? You can nominate someone's points and steal them or something.
I was just
I
thinking
don't know
about
how that would work, but
You'd have to
wrong with it?
underperform to stop them scoring your points, wouldn't you?
Yes.
Yeah. So Caterham and Virgin would do... Sorry,
Piracy,
Marussia would
point
do very
piracy. Everyone gets to put a Jolly Roger above their pit garage one weekend,
Yeah.
and they're going to steal someone's points.
I think that
and you have
was
to nominate
actually-
which team's points you're going to take.
That
We'd be-
was
so we'd
suggested
be
in the
turning
round
F1
of
into a kind
rules.
of, combination of chess and motor racing.
It always was. I've
With
always
some
said
kind of
that.
Saturday night game show thrown in for good measure.
And Stuart Hall laughing like a drain on the side or something.
I feel like a drain in prison. Because that's where he
Yes,
is.
that's very weird.
F1's going to have to pick up some ideas from other places soon because, I mean, it has in the past. We've effectively got the push to pass, if you think about it, with DRS at the moment. It allows overtaking in the same sort of way, and that was something that IndyCar or Champ Car perhaps had first. What else could you do? Well, Formula E, they're talking about doing something whereby you can vote for someone for an extra point for the best performance of the weekend. Or
Is it? I thought you could vote for them to have extra power or something.
yeah, they get an extra boost or something
That's it,
like
yeah.
that. Yeah, so they've got some creative ideas. And
Never give the public a voice. You should never.
you end
let
up with the
them- I
X
just-
Factor, do you? Never give the public a voice.
Yeah, it's
No, you shouldn't.
this is
Yeah,
why
you
you're not a
shouldn't.
politician.
Like, well, no, but things,
Or maybe it's why you should be a politician. Who knows?
things like F1 sport, they don't really work if you just let everybody decide on the rules. You've got to have somebody's got the right idea, comes up with the rules, and everybody else plays by those rules, and you don't go changing them by popular demand. No.
Can we just touch on another of the Formula One rule changes that they're bringing in, which is that every driver picks a number, and that is their number for their whole Formula One career. Now, I don't personally have any particular objection to this. The numbers are so small on the cars these days anyway that it doesn't. I mean, can you name what number anyone is at the moment except the world champion? No, not since the days of Nigel Mansell's Red 5 have there been any memorable numbers. So it's
Lacey
fine.
27.
Ah, yes, Lacey 27 in the Ferrari. 27 and 28, weren't they?
Villeneuve's number as
Berger
well.
was 28. Yeah.
Fine,
that one.
let them do that. That's okay. But I would actually prefer that they made the drivers pick a helmet design for their F1 careers and stuck with it.
Yes,
and it's got to be simple and not stupid and not anything like anyone else's. Because you had all those things like Hamilton and Rosberg with basically the same crash helmet
that's
from a
a problem.
distance.
Yeah.
Everyone's got to choose from a palette of colours, and then you can have a series of different designs, but everyone's got to be distinctive, and somebody is allowed to ring Tiffany Dell and say, can I have the bright orange helmet that you made your trademark during a racing career, because it's easy to spot from a distance. Because it's a nightmare sometimes trying to work out who's in a car. Even the commentators get it wrong.
And on the subject of other changes next year, the new rule about limiting testing, I think, is quite interesting. Where they've got a limit on the combined amount of CFD and actual wind tunnel testing you can do. If you've got a certain number of units of testing. OK, they're trying to reduce costs. That's a good thing. But I just think that's only going to limit innovation even more, and we don't really want to do too much to make people more conservative.
It's a balancing game at the moment. There are those who would argue either you limit what F1 does with its money, or we run the risk of really losing F1. There are only, 3 or 4 teams who are financially stable in F1 at the moment. All the others are in real jeopardy. Which is interesting at a time when they advertise that they're going to open up another spot on the F1 grid for next year.
Well, now, it's not next year, it's 2015, I think.
Sorry, 2015. I'm a week ahead of you there.
Well, you are very futuristic. But who is it? Why are they doing this? Why? They're not just doing this randomly in the hope that somebody, or Tesco, will go, oh, F1, we fancy that. It's not that.
Yeah.
Somebody has come to them, I suspect, behind closed doors and said, just theoretically, if we were
Suppose we wanted to.
Now, maybe it is Tesco. Who knows?
I think the trouble with Formula One is the more successful you are, the more sponsors you get. The more sponsors you get, the more money you have. The more money you have, the more successful you become. So someone, it's like musical chairs, has to be the least successful team in Formula One and the one least likely to draw sponsors. And immediately you are branded Caterham or Marussia, you are going to fall foul of that culture. So you need to bring another team in at least below you, and there will be below you if there are a new team joining, to protect those. It's simply a buffer. There's always a buffer team. Minardi were the most successful buffer in F1 for 20 years or something. They kept going, you know. And
I don't understand what you mean. How does an even worse team prevent Marussia or Caterham
it makes
from
them
going
look
down?
better, so they get sponsorship.
Oh, I see.
Okay, but supposing the new team that comes in isn't a new creation, it's not a new brand coming in to F1 because, you know, a rich Chinese businessman or company or some oligarch decides that they want to get into F1 for whatever reason. Supposing it's a car company, supposing it's somebody that we already know from another branch of motorsport or from the history of the sport that's coming back into it, they're not going to come in below Caterham and Marussia. They're going to be at least midfield.
This
is why I think they've opened up the slot. It's for someone with big money who we've heard of, who wants in. So it's not Rich Chinese Businessman Racing Limited who are going to buy the old HRT chassis or those MasterCard Lolas that were for sale on eBay the other week. I think they're opening up for somebody who's got big bucks and is going to do it properly, or at least try to. But the question is, who?
The only name that really sort of would come into the frame is maybe Toyota, because Honda are coming back in, and that's a good reason for Toyota coming back in order to go head-to-head with Honda.
Conversely, the reason for Toyota not to come back in is that they were pretty bloody awful last time, but then they did have Ralph Schumacher, so wasn't entirely their fault. Nissan have got it covered because they're Infinity, and the Red Bull team is increasingly becoming Red Bull Infinity. And you're right, Honda coming back in. Who else would it be? Volkswagen have often been rumoured, but I think they're sort of focusing on rallying, aren't they?
And, the VAG group are busy with Le Mans in so many ways, aren't they?
So it wouldn't be Audi or Porsche because they're there.
Fiat are in with Ferrari, kind of Maserati, Hyundai, Kia.
Imagine that.
Dongfeng.
Well, imagine that. Huai or Lily or someone. But the Koreans would be, I think, interesting, but Hyundai putting all their eggs into rallying at the moment. They just announced that i20 rally car and their new N sports brand, their sort of RS or M, but it's N, which is odd. Particularly given the name of their car. But I don't know.
They don't have the right range of cars yet for F1 to be...
No, it just wouldn't ring true, would it?
Please let it be Eddie Jordan coming back. Did I say anything out loud just then?
Why would you want that?
Oh, come on, the entertainment. Up and down, in and out.
Fair enough, but I don't know. I'm quite used to him being on telly now and haranguing other team owners and grabbing them by the shirt.
He's been very good.
Making them on TV. Yeah, he's great.
Is what he's best at.
I know a lot of people complain about him, but I actually think you'd miss him if he wasn't there on telly.
There's certainly some stuff that I think he doesn't always do so well presenter-wise, and there is that odd thing with him and David Coulthard. Their on-screen chemistry doesn't always quite work, but he's terrific at getting in there. He's able to ask some really quite direct questions to people, either because of his access or because he's got a bit of inside knowledge there.
I thought you were going to say either because of his accent.
Yeah, I thought you were
just like people powerless to resist an Irishman.
Where did you hide the keys? There are no keys. Where did you hide the keys? They're in the box.
What classic interrogation technique.
So can we just round up who we're saying goodbye to in F1 for the end of this year before we go now? Right, we welcome Kevin Magnussen. We welcome him. We say farewell to...
Mark Webber.
Mark Webber's gone.
Paul de Resta doesn't look like he's
We don't know where he's going.
He's out across India because they have a full driver.
Is he too miserable and even more Scottish than Alan McNish to replace Alan McNish at Audi, I wonder? His relationship was with Mercedes historically. I wonder if Audi would have him.
DTM again.
Yeah, he could go back there if he wanted to.
That's a better, I reckon. I mean, Alan McNish's shoes, well, that's a big pair of shoes to fill.
Not really. He's only a wee fella.
Yeah, it's about 6.5, I think.
I
stood next to him.
What's the matter, Santa? You look a bit glum.
Oh, David.
I'm Simon, sir.
Sorry, all you elves look the same to me.
Racist.
The reason I'm glum, Simon, is that it's the week before Christmas and I just can't summon up my trademark laugh.
Well, my dog's got no nose. How does he smell? Terrible.
I've heard that one before.
Oh, never mind. Try this one. Man walks into a pet shop, says, I'd like to buy a wasp. Pet shop owner says, we don't sell wasps. Man says, but you've got two in the window. Eh?
No, not a flicker.
Oh.
Thank you for trying, Simon, but it's just no good.
No, no, hang on. I've got another one. You know the Williams F1 team?
Yes,
Well, they say they want to get back to their championship winning ways.
I'm sure they do. That sounds very logical.
So they've hired Philip Massa.
They've what? No! Ho, 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 ho! Ho, ho, ho!
Merry Christmas, everybody!
But he's crap! Ho, 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 ho!
Sniff Petrol with Gareth Jones on speed!
Depending on when you're listening to this programme, either Christmas is fast approaching or it's a distant or recent memory. And we thought we'd exercise our memory regarding the sort of car presents that we got or desired when we were little, because we're guessing some of the things that we wanted, you probably wanted as well. I'll get the ball rolling by talking about the very broad and often disappointing Christmas gift, that is Scalextric. Did you have Scalextric of your own, Zog, as a
Yeah,
child?
and of course I was a fan.
Do you remember what set you had, what cars you had? Really?
Well, various cars over the years, and had various track layouts and various levels of difficulty with fitting some of those different bits of track together, because the little metal bits on the end got a little bit twisted.
Yeah.
But no,
Disappointment
but
number
far
one.
away the best of those Scalextric cars, the favourite one I had was a hand-me-down. It wasn't a new one, because it
What,
was
from the 50s or something?
well, I can't remember. Well,
I don't know.
I don't know quite how old it was, because it wasn't actually a Scalextric brand car, I think, but it was a 60s Lotus F1 car with steering front wheels. And so as the body of the car moved relative to the orientation of the tongue that sticks in the groove.
Yeah.
So, you've got a little plastic blade that's sticking in the groove in the track.
Yeah.
And usually that just moves around.
Relative to the bodywork,
It
yeah.
pivots, but usually the four wheels of your Scalextric car are fixed. Now, on this car, the front wheels would steer in parallel with the orientation of the little plastic
Yeah.
blade that was sticking to the
Was it the
It was
entire
absolutely
axle
fantastic.
that was pivoting, or were the
No,
wheels
no, it wasn't the
pivoting
axle.
like a
They're
real
actually
car?
pivoting like a real car.
On the
That
end
was
of the
a
axle.
fantastic. That was fabulous.
I had Scalextric U-Steer in the 70s, so I'd have been about 12 years old, 73 or thereabouts, and that was Scalextric with a steering wheel on the throttle. It was like a pistol grip throttle, and you either had full left or full right, and what you had was an arm underneath the car that was hinged right at the back end of the car, and that guide, that tongue that sits in the groove with the two metal braids, was at the front, so it would move position, it'd swing left and right. So rather than steer, what it did, it parallel tracked the car to one side or the other side of the central track, so you could get past people in overtaking and avoid chicanes and things like that. Almost impossible to get right, and I think it's been written out of Scalextric history. It was a proper disappointment, but the cars were cool. They were like IMSA cars, or Can-Am cars.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you have Scalextric?
I didn't.
Graphical?
No, because I had
You had
Hornby
your
model
Barbie.
railways. Yeah, I had Barbie. Cindy.
Hornby
actually.
model railways.
Had Hornby model railways, which at the time seemed fine. It's only in retrospect. It isn't intended to be a pun, but I suspect I was slightly railroaded into this by
No.
my dad, who's more interested in trains than I am,
Yeah.
because I'm not really interested in trains at all. At the time, it didn't seem to be a problem, and I quite enjoyed my Hornby set.
Was it an HS125?
It wasn't. There was a great deal of lobbying went on in our house, and a lot of controversy, and eventually we built a model of the HS2 right through the middle of the house.
Is this project still going on? Is it still costing you?
It
a huge
is,
amount of
yeah.
money?
It cost my parents over £50 billion.
Yay!
So, yeah, I had Hornby. And then my little brother got not Scalextric, but
That's
like
Chris
one
Petrol.
of those, knock-off, smaller scale
Tricks.
Oh, but some of those
like
smaller
that.
scale ones
It was
were
pretty
pretty
good.
good. Yeah,
I remember it being
those-
really good.
yeah.
In fact,
Weren't
oddly
they
enough, I
actually
found
scale?
the track.
Weren't they actually the same scale as...
No, this one was a little bit smaller, I think. But I found the track, but not the cars for it, just recently in my dad's house, which we're clearing out at the moment because he's selling it. And sadly, the cars had long gone. I don't know where.
Aurora.
Yes,
FX.
Aurora.
I
It was
had-
Aurora. That's right.
yeah.
Well remembered.
It had lights on them.
Yes, it did.
Yeah, that's what made
That's
them
bloody
special.
great. And it had some kind of
Done a
lap
bit of
timer thing, which I think
fast
Scalextrics have this, or did the Scalextrics lap monitor, lap counter,
They
go
did
in
some
the
point,
track
but-
in some way? Because
Yes.
I think the Aurora one was quite crude. It just had these strips that hung down over the track.
You drove through them.
And you
Like
drove through them, and
yeah.
it went... And,
click,
but I did play scale electrics, but a school friend of mine, when I was sort of in primary junior school, called James Hampson, had scale electric. They had a loft conversion in the very loosest sense of the word. There was one of those drop-down ladders, and then his dad had sort of put boards down, so
More
there was a
loft than
floor.
conversion.
Yeah. And then laid out a scale electric round the sort of perimeter of this room. But that's the thing, that was all that was in the room somehow. Most people's lofts are full of old carpet offcuts and paint and things. But this had this sort of central bit that was just floor with a scale electric track running around it. But the trickiest bend was right by the loft hatch. And if you got it wrong, the car flew off the track and went down through the loft hatch. And we lost a lot of cars that way.
Okay, do you remember any of the car presents? I'll start the ball rolling. I remember really wanting a Corgi model of a tri-deck car transporter. This was the late 60s, this was, where they were all two-deck dinky car transporters. Corgi made one that was a tri-deck, and I really, really wanted that. I didn't actually get it. It was a disappointment. I turned up on the day and it wasn't the tri-deck transporter. It was just a two-deck transporter. But due to I won't tell you the whole story, but a rather complicated mess-up, my dad had accidentally bought a rally chopper.
That wouldn't usually be too much of a tragedy, you know. I mean, that's...
Yes, it offset any disappointments I'd had.
Yeah.
Too long a story to explain how you're done. This is as good as the man that I bought my Jaguar XJR from, who went out to buy a fitted kitchen and came home with a supercharged Jaguar.
I'd like to see him explain that to some other significant person.
Well,
as well.
amazingly,
That
his
would be
wife
a
didn't
good
leave him,
thing.
and when I bought that car from him and drove away in it the day I went to pick it up, I thought his wife was going to cry. She was gutted. And yet their kitchen, I noticed, was quite crappy, so they still hadn't had it updated because of the bloody Jag. Anyway, yes. Oh, actually, just reminded me of someone else I knew whose dad went out to buy their mum a Mini in the 70s and accidentally
Never
came
came back.
home with a Jaguar XJ6.
Yeah.
Oh, good choice, though.
Well, when I went to Japan, I went out to buy a Mitsubishi FTO and accidentally bought a Sora and a Cappuccino and brought them home from Japan with
I
me.
think you were up on the
Cappuccino would be
deal
cold by the
there.
time we got
Good
back,
deal,
of course,
yeah.
but dinky toys. I mean, I wanted all of the UFO stuff. Oh, you think
I was about to mention the Shadow Mobile.
that was the one. That was the one. I love the
For
Shadow
Christmas, the Shadow Mobile came out, which
that
was
was the
maybe
finest.
71, 72.
You know, really?
I was born in 75. This is all before my time.
Young Padawan, you'll never understand.
The Shadow Mobile. Well, I think Dave Meddings may have been involved with the design. I still lust after seeing a real one of those.
Isn't it
Because they
Shadow
are real.
Mobile, not mobile?
No, Shadow Mobile.
Like
But that's
like
mobile.
the Shadow Mobile.
Like the place in Alabama? No. It's
Don't get bogged down in that one.
it's.
I went to a Thanksgiving dinner when it was Thanksgiving the other week, and then got into an argument with all of the Americans there, including my own wife, about why it's not herbs. The word is herbs.
Herbs.
And if you're going to be so, they were, it's French. And I'm like, yes, well, if that's the case, then you should be calling it New Orleans. Or even Nouveau Orleans.
And I can
Saint
tell-
Louis.
I can
And then
tell
it all
right
got a
there
bit
that
ugly.
You obviously won the argument.
Le-
Although I didn't because I was at someone else's
Le
house.
Shadow Mobile.
And you were outnumbered. So.
Le Shadow Mobile. Can you name all the Captain Scarlet Spectrum cars?
No, we used to play Captain Scarlet in the playground,
Well,
and
you
obviously the first thing to do was to argue about who got to be Captain Scarlet.
Good argument.
Bum, 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 bum.
Yeah, that's cost me 800 quid you doing that, Riff.
Does it really?
Yeah,
Is it?
Oh, that's not
probably.
enough. No.
Oh, just,
But you
bum,
agreed
bum, 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 bum,
Yeah,
bum.
thank you. That's
Okay,
I'll rub the
completely
other one
different.
out. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, it was the SPV, the Spectrum Pursuit Vehicle. That was the one which had the cannon at the front, the rear-facing driver's seat which came out from the side, and this was the innovation, the two tracks at the back which would roll down when you needed extra traction. I like that. There was the MSV, the Maximum Security Vehicle, the white one, which was like an armoured car, and then the what was the red Captain Scarlet's car called? The Spectrum something car, the Spectrum car. Ooh, I'm going to get letters, and I know who from about that one. I think that was it. That was it. Apart
Captain
from
Scarlet.
Yeah.
Jerry Anson had that whole marketing thing down. He
Do you know, Captain Scarlet, what I liked
about
about Captain Scarlet as well, which I do remember watching as a kid, was that by then he'd got the puppets into proportion. They didn't have the
heads were
massive heads
smaller.
anymore. I think because he'd shrunk the mechanism to make the mouths and eyes work.
What they did, they moved the solenoid, instead of being in the head, they moved it down into the chest.
Oh,
so
is
there
that
was
right?
more room that allowed them to make smaller heads or
So
bigger
they were
bodies.
actually...
Yeah.
But then unfortunately...
more realistic Cary Grant based hero.
No, very good.
Yeah.
Well, they did, but then unfortunately, once he was all in proportion and looked like a real person, Captain Scarlet unfortunately just looked like a heroic version of Alan Hansen, the football pundit. So
True.
didn't quite work.
Absolutely
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah. That was... Disgrace. This just reminded me of something. Rally Chopper. I think you can age someone, you can tell how old they are roughly by saying to them, what rally bike did you have when you were younger? Because I think it goes chopper, but then grifter. Well, boxer. I had a boxer, which was your baby grifter, and then a grifter.
Oh, yeah.
But that dates me to being born in the middle 70s, getting one of those in the early 80s. After that, Rally Burner, the BMX.
The Burner. You've forgotten the Chipper, which was the baby chopper.
Oh, I thought that was a budgie.
And a Tomahawk, which was a smaller one as well. Very good. You're absolutely right.
Bicycles we have loved.
Yeah, I had a chopper. Do you want the story about how I ended up getting a chopper? Got a minute?
Go on.
I'll do it as quickly. It's a story about pride. My dad had a TV and radio shop in town. There was a rival TV and radio shop. My dad was Ken Jones Television. The rival shop was Jim Williams. Jim Williams, apart from selling televisions, also sold bikes. So I would never dream of going into Jim Williams' shop, Dad's rival, apart from getting bike stuff. One day I was in there getting my bike repaired with my mother, and I said, Mr. Williams, I saw those new rally choppers on Blue Peter the other week. Are you getting any in for Christmas? Just being cheeky and funny. And he said, yes, Gareth, I'll put your name on the list for one. And we went out to the shop, and then my parents bought my Christmas presents, and so the story's told me on Christmas Eve at 5 o'clock, the door opens in Ken Jones, Dad's TV and radio shop, and in walks Jim Williams, Dad's bitter rival. They would never go in each other's shop, with a bright yellow rally chopper Mark 1. Ken, here's the rally chopper your son ordered. That's £34, I think it was, which is a lot of money in those days.
Cheeky move.
And Dad, being proud, of course, wouldn't dream of saying, no, son never ordered that or I'll kill him. So, yes, of course, Jim. Gets the 32 quid out of the till, and I had the best Christmas ever. Thank you very much indeed. It's a true story. That's how it happened.
I like to imagine, though, as he walked out of the shop, that your dad just went, damn you, Williams!
Yes, he probably
and the rivalry was never deeper. Your dad opened up some kind of random saucepan shop to go along the tellies, and they just kept on taking pressure cookers down to what was it called? Jim Williams. Going, morning, Williams. Here's the pressure cooker your wife ordered. £100, please. Skillets. 20 of them she asked for. There they are.
£800 apiece. Jim
Jones.
Dad used to sneak out at 4 o'clock in the morning, walk down the high street, and slowly walk with his hat and his coat on past Jim's shop. Oh, Sony transistors, £32. Right, I'll sell them for 31. He did. Rivalry. Anyway, stories from Christmas past.
People going, so you've put your Sonys up to £50, Mr. Jones. What's going on there? Got to pay for the chopper. Williams!
Can I have a lie down now, and we'll come back for the next bit, the final bit of the seasonal special. Gareth, cheers or speed.
It's late December, and snow is falling all around. Mary Magnuson and her husband Jansif are looking for a seat for the coming year.
But I thought Audi liked Danes.
We do, but we already have one. Now go away. There's no room at the team.
Oh, Mary, I fear our precious child will be without the seat.
But then, lo, in the holy town of Woking, did Mary and Jansif spy a humble factory facility.
Oh, Jan, perhaps we can rest a while here. For sure, Mary. I'm sorry it is not much. Just a 20,000 square metre glass and steel structure with an artificial lake to provide an ecological method of heat extraction. But I hope it will provide us with shelter.
Hello.
Oh!
I'm Martin.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were a skeleton.
No, I'm a team principal.
Oh, kind sir. Is this your factory?
Yes, kind of. Can I help you?
Sir, we are weary and we are looking for a seat for our child.
Oh, yeah? Oh, quick-looking little fella, isn't he? What's his name?
Jesus. Was the name that we were going to go for, but then we settled on Kevin. Oh, kind and skeletal man, can you provide a seat for our beloved Kevin?
Not really. There's someone in it. Tell you what, hang on a sec. Sergio! Sorry about that. Right, yes, I can provide a seat for your son.
Oh, it is a Christmas miracle!
Verily, Mary and Yansif were filled with manifest joy, and then did God appear before them.
What are you people doing here, making my factory look slightly untidy?
Our Father, run in heaven, Dennis be thy name.
It's not heaven, it's just an upstairs office. Where did all this straw come from? I'm experiencing a quantity of dissatisfaction regarding this organic matter situation. Is this your donkey? We'll need to redesign that. Doesn't conform to a number of parameters, efficiency and performance attributes required for satisfactory ownership experience.
And so Kevin was the chosen one, and verily he was in the prayers of the people.
Hello, God. Hi, it's Jensen. I don't usually pray, but please don't let Magnuson be faster than me.
The end. Merry Christmas.
Oh, God.
Gareth Jones on speed.
I ought to check that we are all within reach of a glass at this point. Have you got a glass? Can we each walk away from the... Hey. We're limited by headphone cable length. We don't extend to wireless headphones in this house. So, Richard, you had to reach like someone in a
We're not traction
Mission
rooted,
Impossible
we're cable
challenge.
Just trying diffusing something.
A small toast to the year that was and the year that will be. Nadolig Llawen, Merry Christmas, Happy Festivus, Happy Hanukkah, Richard. You were brought up in the Jewish faith, weren't you?
I wasn't, but I tried to convince my wife that the dog was Jewish the other day. But it's because we were in a pet shop and she was going, should we buy the dog a Christmas present? And I was like, no, the dog's Jewish.
So you have to buy like kosher dog food? Or is that
Yes, we do. It's right.
It's
I don't know where this is going. Yes, well, I did genuinely try and tell my wife that the dog was Jewish. Because dogs don't have Christmas. They don't have anything. They don't have Hanukkah. They don't have Eid. Nothing.
They
They're
don't have
dogs.
Ramadan.
They lead simple, uncluttered lives.
Although I do believe
With a
that if
long
they
nose
did
around.
celebrate anything, it would be Festivus, because shows of strength, airing of grievances, two things that dogs enjoy very much.
And aluminium poles.
An aluminium pole, yes.
It's
Just
making a lot
we
of
against
sense.
it and
There you
then
go.
cheer it.
And we're back where we started at Festivus, I think. So, yeah, I'd like to say that the future year looks great, but there are a couple of interesting telltale signs in the motor industry that there is change ahead. The first one, and I'm trying to stifle a hooray here, is that General Motors has decided to pull the Chevy brand out of, is it the UK or all of Europe?
All of Europe.
All of Europe.
Well, okay,
That's
if
it.
you're keen on this, I'm not so keen on this.
Oh,
but-
interesting.
Well, it's for the reason because they're pulling out because they don't see much of a future for selling cars in Europe, and that's not entirely because they're really crap at it. Isn't that
no,
true?
they do.
Well, that's
What
the-
they realised is, certainly in the UK, they paired Vauxhall and Chevrolet. Naturally, they're both GM companies, so same showroom, just split down the middle. But people would wander in looking for the super cheap Chevrolet that they'd seen an advert for in the paper, and then they would spot a poster that said Astra's £2,000 off, and they'd think, well, hang on a minute, I like the look of that car more than that rather miserable looking Chevy.
Because they're not blind.
And so people would buy Vauxhalls instead. Good for Vauxhall, but not so good for Chevy, who were just essentially like some kind of tawdry lost leader that drew people into Vauxhall showrooms. That's not really any way to run a company, is it?
I have no love of the Vauxhall brand. You know, there are lots of really good GM Europe cars that I would buy if they didn't have a Vauxhall badge on the front. I find it
Well,
really
now there's an
hard.
interesting question. Which one?
The Zafira GSI, as was. I nearly bought one of those, and the only condition I was going to buy it under would have been if I'd bought the debadged version, had all the IMSHA bits put on, which replaced the Vauxhall badge.
Did you ever drive one?
Yeah, it was all right, wasn't it?
Torque steering.
Yeah, there was a bit of that. So, Chevy are leaving Europe. I would campaign long and hard for Opel being the European brand, and then push it up market in the way that Audi do, and then create a sub-brand if you have to. Bye-bye, Chevy. You were great Daewoo cars, but you weren't Chevys. You
Well,
were
that's the
Daewoo.
thing. They had no
So
integrity.
you look pained at that.
They've got no great love for Chevy. It's just what it sort of says, I think, about
But Chevrolet, real Chevrolet carries on.
Yeah.
This was just a glorified pan-European badge engineering exercise.
And they could have tried harder. They really could have tried harder.
Have you seen the real Chevrolet range in the US now? It's actually sort of quite nice-looking cars. Oh, here's a bit of news, since we just seek seamlessly into that as well. The new GM CEO, Mary Barras, who is taking over next year, I believe.
What's she embarrassed about?
But her mantra, which she said, the guiding
An
principle
Opel
for
mantra?
GM... An Opel
Sorry,
mantra.
I'm full of the puns here now.
She said that the main thing that should guide GM for the future, no more crappy cars.
Really?
That was her,
Okay,
that
that
was
was
her
it.
exact words. I just thought, well, this is good.
She didn't used to be... What's her name, girlfriend? Juliette Gillard, the Australian...
Julia Gillard,
the Australian Prime Minister, born in Cardiff. She was kind of a matter-of-fact talking sort of woman. She says, what's her name? Barras?
Mary Barras, yeah.
Mary Barras.
And she is... no, she's American. She's, I think, Midwestern, born and bred in Detroit, and GM careerist. But yeah, I'd say that she says things like that. The cloth that she's cut from may be similar to that which made Maximum Bob Lutz, the outspoken nut job who used to run GM.
He ran everything, but at some point he ran everything.
Who's also been quoted last week. I think he was on some US radio station essentially saying that he quite fancied the new CEO of GM.
Was that what he meant?
Yeah, no, he did. Look at the
mean
transcript. He basically said, he just was describing her. She's got a good athletic build and a pretty face. And it's like, all right, Bob, calm down.
Yes.
He thought he was describing a car.
Could you very well unreconstructed here?
Yeah.
He thought he was describing a car. Very athletic, tense, pretty face. I was talking about the new mantra. Yeah.
Anyway,
the Opel mantra.
so kill Chevy in Europe. Fine. It's badge engineering exercise. They seem to be making some quite good cars in the US. And if the new boss has a guiding principle of not being crap, then they're probably all right.
Yeah.
Talking about brands vanishing from regions, Holden isn't vanishing as a brand from Australia, but manufacturing is leaving Australia completely, isn't it? That's a bit of a shock.
Yeah. Well, yes, the more troubling, I suppose, for Australians and sentimental Australians is that there's some suggestion that Holden itself may just wither and die because...
They won't buy it if it's not an Australian car.
That's also been part of the appeal, hasn't it? You know,
but it's amazing they've existed for that long.
They've done a good job.
A great deal of government subsidy has gone into that because the truth is the Australian car market is tiny. I mean, there's not that many people in Australia once you factor out all the ones who live in
28 people, and 20 of them are in neighbours.
Yeah, and the other 2 who don't drive. So
yeah, that's right.
That's the thing. How many cars could they possibly sell? And yet Australia has sustained 2 unique rear-wheel drive chassis for evermore. You could see it was unsustainable unless they could come up with something very cunning. And what GM seemed to be trying to do was they made Holden their rear-wheel drive global centre of excellence.
It's the same platform. The Camaro's on.
The Camaro's on that, and a lot of Camaro development was done down in Australia because it's a shorter chassis. But now GM have gone, well, actually, we can't just leave rear-wheel drive to the Aussies to try and shoulder that whole burden. We need a whole range of Cadillacs that have got to be tip-top and quite sophisticated. I used to run a VXR8, which is a Holden. Sophisticated was not a word I would have used. I bloody loved that car, don't get me wrong. Fabulous car. Absolutely adore it. One went past me a couple of days ago when I was out walking the dog, and it made a lovely thunderous noise on some aftermarket pipes. and I got quite teary-eyed about it, and I was like, oh...
Well, it's the same sound that moves your heart in the Corvettes at Le Mans as well. It's that same engine.
Yeah, it's actually deep. You know, they're sort of quite strident, those Corvettes. You're still in the bass register, but it's sort of really bassy.
It's a definite rumble.
I think Ford will benefit from that, you know. I think, you know, Australians will... Oh, boy, at least an Australian Ford, mate, built round here. Yeah, but will people... It's such bitter rivalry.
No, but that's it. Ford are stopping building cars as well. There's only Toyota left.
No.
And they're wavering.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. All imports.
Whoa. Oh, the future ahead is dark.
Too expensive to build in Australia.
It's just too much to try and... Unless you can build them there to ship them elsewhere. But where? The nearest place is Japan, where they have car factories
Tiny
coming
cars.
out the bottom.
And they want small cars, not the cars with huge suspension travel that you need in Australia.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Do you know, one of the Holden, the Commodores of the past, was essentially what we'd have known as the Opel or Vauxhall Senator, but the original one from the sort of 70s and early 80s.
Yeah.
And they lengthened it,
but
they kept it pretty much the same, and then they started testing the prototypes in the Outback, and they basically snapped in half. So that car ended up being really beefed up because Outback conditions and Aussie road conditions, once you get out of the cities, are almost unique in how punishing they are.
Yeah.
So, they build them tough down there. And that's a shame. That's a shame we won't see the likes of that car. A car which is made bespoke for a very unique and demanding market.
It has some real character.
Yeah, exactly. The character is it.
Yeah.
Well, we wave goodbye to Chevy in Europe. We potentially wave goodbye to Holden. We certainly wave goodbye to Holden Manufacturing in Australia. And we welcome lots of exciting new things in the future. My favourite car I want to see in the future, I think that Nissan Blade Glider is the thing I'm most excited about at the moment. I don't know if you two have any thoughts on cars that you want to see in the future?
I mean, if we're just counting, the flying car, obviously, yeah.
The flying car.
That Nissan,
will that happen in
fantastic.
2014?
Oh, yeah.
Actually, it will. No, it won't, because Webber's not in F1 anymore. Richard, your hopes for the future in terms of cars? Anything that tickles your trousers?
Oh, many things. BMW i8 and the Porsche 918, the Porsche 919 at Le Mans.
Yeah.
The new Mustang, I mean, is it going to be any good? Do we care? Too much to mention off the top of my head. Formula E is going to be interesting, see how that pans out. The new F1 cars. Didn't Jenson Button just say that the first race of the season is going to be quote-unquote hilarious?
Yes.
Because
it's the first test of the season will be hilarious.
Yes. Yeah. So there's all that to come. Personally, I need to go and get a new car because I've got a baby on the way and I need something more practical. I've suddenly realised I don't want to put my firstborn son into my scabby old Jeep, and so I'm going to go and get something a bit more modern. And, Scabby new Jeep. Just get the scabs taken off my Jeep.
Me, I don't think it's going to happen in 2014, but one of the most exciting bits of car technology promise at the moment is this new carbon composite material that replace bodywork in cars and act as a battery. So it's a combination of polymer battery and supercapacitor, instant charging, but instead of having to carry a stack of batteries around with you, your bodywork does that for you. That's the kind of efficient thinking that I want in my future of cars anyway.
Just don't lean on it when it's raining.
That is a problem, they haven't thought it through. You've been listening to the Gareth Jones on Speed seasonal special with Zog.
Goodbye.
Your voice held out really well because you were really croaky.
Seasonal.
With Richard Porter.
Goodbye.
Over in the distance, Violet Berlin V, you typing, shouting goodbye from a distance. And from me, Gareth Jones, we wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, or whatever it is you celebrate at this time of the year. If you're celebrating Easter, you're a bit late on the podcast. Try and catch up a bit more efficiently in future. We will leave you with a song, a bespoke Christmas song for Gareth Jones on Speed, written and performed by the combined talents of the entire team. We'll leave you with Why Did They Make Nigel Mansell Santa Claus? Nadolig llawen.
Santa's dead, fell off his sled, no time to grieve, it's Christmas Eve, they need someone to fill in, someone with a heavy boot, but their choice is rather strange, though he's matching up to fill the two. Why did they make Nigel Mansell Santa Claus? I can't believe that this will go to plan. Oh, I believe in many things at Christmas, but I don't believe Santa comes from Birmingham. In Adelaide, he's got it made. Gifts on their way, in a Williams sleigh. It's really very crap. Oh, I want to see so many things at Christmas, but not Saint Nick in a branded sponsor's hat.
Hunt wasn't available. Chilton had run out of cash. Kimmy's incomprehensible, and Grosjean would have crashed. So Nigel became a Santa, and this a Yuletide farce. But I'm sure somewhere there's a chimney wide enough to fit his arse.
When he got it sorted and things were going well, oh no, his sleigh's been taken out by TV's Tiffany Dell. Oh, why did they make Nigel Mansell Santa Claus? As decisions go, it all seems rather rash. Oh, I believe in many things at Christmas, but I don't believe that Santa has a mustache. Oh, why did they make Nigel Mansell Santa Claus? This whole thing's really turned out very weird. Oh, I hope for so many things at Christmas. I hope they use tacky inouï next year. I hope they use tacky inouï next year.
To send us an email, see pictures, get song lyrics, join our Facebook fan site, follow us on Twitter, or to find out about sponsorship opportunities, go to garethjones.tv. Gareth Jones on Speed is made in London by Whiz Bang.